System, initiate the death sequence. The moment he spoke, the system manifested its cold, mechanical female voice asking, "Which method of death would you like to select?" Mike thought for a moment before speaking in a flat tone. "Let me die on Mia's operating table then." "Understood, host." The death system is activated. You are scheduled to die from brain cancer in 7 days. Have a pleasant death. With that, the system's voice vanished into thin air. Tonight was their 10th anniversary, and he had planned a romantic evening, but she had merely sent a curt text. Something came up at work. "Don't wait up yet." Mike stared blankly at his phone, looking at a photo on Facebook posted by our best friend, showing a drunk Mia leaning intimately against a man's chest. They looked incredibly close, the man's hand boldly resting high on her thigh, right against her black stockings. Mike knew this man well. He was the original protagonist of this story, Xavier. The dinner on the table had gone cold, and a chill permeated the entire villa, making the happy anniversary on the cake look glaringly ironic. Mike looked away, sitting in silence for a long time. It was time to leave Mia's world. 10 years ago, he had accidentally transmigrated into a redemption novel. The heroine, Mia, had suffered endless hardships and scorn, eventually committing suicide at the prime age of 23, just after achieving scientific success. His heart had ached for her suffering. He would show up whenever she was bullied, chase away the creepy uncle who harassed her, and send her alcoholic, abusive father to the police station. In a critical moment, he had even taken a fatal blow from a thug meant for her. As he lay in a pool of his own blood, Mia, who had always been cold and called him annoying, broke down sobbing for the first time, grabbing his hand with a trembling voice full of fear. "Mike, please," she had begged, "don't leave me." After that, Mia accepted him completely, even giving up her beloved mathematics to study medicine just to cure his injuries. 10 years flew by, from dating to marriage, though they never had children. He had once asked Mia who she would choose if the story's original protagonist ever appeared. Back then, she had simply smiled, thrown herself into his arms, and said sweetly, "Who cares about some protagonist? I'd choose you over anyone. I will love you forever." He had believed her completely and utterly. But now, the dinner he cooked was stone cold, and as midnight approached, he finally received an iMessage from Mia. "Work is busy. Not coming home." Mia always used work as an excuse to meet Xavier. She didn't realize that he had known for a long time. Her makeup, once pure and subtle, had become increasingly heavy, and her sensible pants were replaced by tight skirts that accentuated her figure. Just this morning, she had spent ages in front of the mirror wearing black stockings, asking him if she looked good. He tried to communicate, to save their relationship, but when he called her tonight, Mia answered with extreme impatience. "This is necessary for networking. You sit at home all day with no career, so you wouldn't understand." So, sitting in a man's lap in black stockings was part of the job description? He didn't ask, nor did he start a fight. He just didn't want to love her anymore. Mia had forgotten that he never cared about material things, only a sincere heart. He turned on the shower, taking a deep breath. For 10 years, he hadn't slept before midnight because Mia was high maintenance and insisted he coax her to sleep first. Crawling into bed, he thought he would have insomnia, but exhaustion took over, and he fell asleep the moment his eyes closed. It wasn't until 3 a.m. that his phone suddenly rang. "Oh, happy anniversary, Mike. The gift I sent you is at the door." Just then, there was a knock. He opened the door to find a bouquet of red roses and a ruby necklace on the ground, the red color piercingly bright. He gave them a cold glance before tossing the entire gift into the trash. He knew the pattern. Every expensive gift was just compensation for one of her affairs. But now it was all over. He was finally going to correct the error of this story and return Mia to Xavier. His final gift to Mia would be dying by her hands. By the time he woke up, Mia had been brought home. He stood at the entrance, taking a deep breath before opening the door. Mia was being carried in bridal style by a tall man in black. Her arms were wrapped around his neck, nuzzling against his chest like a kitten. The man apologized gently. "I'm sorry, Mia got drunk last night, so I brought her home." He tried to hand Mia over, but the moment he moved, Mia angrily pushed Mike away. "No, get away, you jerk. I want Xavier to hold me. Only Xavier." In her drunken haze, Mia clung to Xavier's neck right in front of Mike, refusing to let go. Xavier looked a bit panicked and tried to wake her. "Mia, wake up. Your husband is right here. You're holding the wrong person." But Mia just mumbled, her eyes glazed over. No, you're the one I want to hold." She didn't care that Mike was there, and Mike simply glanced past them indifferent to their intimacy. He politely took a step back and said softly, "Please, go ahead." Once he was out the door, he clutched his chest and smiled bitterly. Since last year, she had been obsessed with buying him black items. Black ties, black suits, black sweaters, even matching black couple outfits. He used to think she just liked the color, but after today, he realized it wasn't her preference. It was because Xavier liked black. He went back to his old home, burned everything that belonged to him, and by the time he returned to the villa, it was empty. He waited for her to come back, wanted to end the relationship with some dignity. He called her countless times with no answer until 2 a.m., when Mia finally stumbled into the living room reeking of alcohol. She jumped when she saw him sitting on the sofa. "Why aren't you asleep?" Mike shook his head and pointed a finger at the hickey on her neck. Mia covered her neck, looking uncomfortable, but Mike calmly offered her an excuse. "A mosquito bite on your neck. Does it still itch?" Mia frowned, ungrateful, and shouted at him instead. "I told you not to call me when I'm working. You called so many times. What if you made me miss something important? Xavier just dropped me off this morning because it was on his way. Why are you so upset?" She sighed. "You just forget it. You don't work, so you don't understand professional networking. Just say it. What do you want?" He finally spoke, lowering his head. "I'm leaving, Mia." "Huh? Where to?" Mia paused, asking in confusion, but her impatience returned quickly. "Whatever. Go wherever you want. Just don't forget to make dinner." She rushed into the bathroom, and Mike knew she was going to delete her chat history so he wouldn't see it. She forgot that her computer had backups. He could have pulled up those chat logs and asked her why she was treating him this way. But in reality, Mike just sat there for a long time, eventually letting out a self-deprecating laugh. She didn't care about him. To her, he was just a housekeeper. He was finally leaving, finally waking up. He whispered one last thing in her direction. "Mia, I'm setting you free." The next day, he left early for the hospital. When he returned, the house was buzzing with activity. As he walked in, Mia was playing Truth or Dare, looking shyly at Xavier by the window. Everyone froze at his arrival, and Chloe, who had been loud and boisterous a moment ago, instantly looked at him with disdain. "What a buzzkill." Chloe sneered. "Mia, didn't you say he wasn't coming back?" Mike lowered his head, silently closing the door and turning to leave as if he hadn't seen anything. But Chloe kept talking, raising her voice. "Mia, get on with the punishment. You lost a dare. You have to do it. Go give Xavier a hug." The crowd got riled up, ignoring Mike as he walked past, chanting hug, hug, hug. Chloe watched Mike's back, expecting to see him heartbroken, but he simply opened the door to his room, completely unresponsive to the chaos in the living room. Chloe was annoyed. This was the first time Mike had completely ignored her and Mia. She jumped up, rushed over to grab Mike's arm, and spoke as if doing him a favor. "Come play with us, Mike. We're short a person anyway. Don't be a spoil sport." Mia looked uncomfortable, thinking things are going too far, but she only glanced at Mike without making any move to stop it. "Sorry, I'm not interested." Mike shook off her hand, frowning in annoyance as he tried to enter his room. Chloe, Mia's best friend, had always hated him. She thought he had ulterior motives for being with Mia and had tried to call the cops on him multiple times. Whenever he got angry, Mia would just smooth things over. Mia always said Chloe was young and didn't know better. But that wasn't an excuse, and now that he was leaving, he didn't need to be nice to her anymore. But Xavier also stopped him. "Mr. Mike, come play. You're Mia's husband. She'd be so happy if you stayed and joined us." Mike paused. At least Xavier acknowledged who the actual husband was. But feeling the weight of everyone's stare, Mike knew he didn't have much of a choice. Hiding his annoyance, he sat down. But perhaps because of his presence, the game escalated, and when it was Mia's turn for a dare again, the challenge was to kiss Xavier on the lips. Everyone's expressions shifted, their eyes falling on Mike. The room went silent, except for Chloe, who kept pushing. "Mia, come on, give Xavier a kiss." Mike said nothing, keeping his head down. Mia hesitated, shaking her head. "I don't think so. Chloe, that's going too far." Chloe pouted, speaking with a sour tone. "Well, then Xavier has to drink." Mia's expression changed instantly. Beside her, Xavier looked pitiful, coughing violently until his face was flushed before reaching for the glass. "It's okay, Mia. I'll drink it," Xavier said. "My alcohol allergy isn't that bad, don't worry. If I don't drink, Mr. Mike might get angry." As he moved to drink the cold wine, Mia stopped him immediately. Glancing at the silent Mike, she turned and kissed Xavier on the lips. The crowd erupted in cheers, casting pitying glances at Mike. Mike stood up and walked away without looking back, but Xavier suddenly rushed over, grabbing his hand to apologize. "I'm sorry, Mr. Mike. Mia was just worried about me." "Are you mad?" "I apologize. It's all my fault. Please don't blame Mia." Mia stood behind him and pulled his hand away. Don't apologize. We've been together forever. He won't mind. Hearing this, Mike looked up with a smile. I don't mind. Please, go ahead. He truly didn't mind anymore because he was truly leaving. Mia got wasted that night, leaving the living room a disaster zone. When she woke up the next day, she found the mess untouched. Being a germaphobe, she frowned in displeasure. Usually, Mike took care of this. But Mike had been missing all morning. Chloe was lying on the sofa, mumbling to herself. Mike, give me a glass of water. She waited, but there was no response. Annoyed, she got up to find him and saw Mike sitting in the bedroom, holding a box of medicine, lost in thought. Mike, are you deaf? Chloe snapped. I asked for water. Didn't you hear me? She tried to grab him, but missed as Mike dodged her hand. I'm not your servant, he said coldly. Get your own water. Not now and not ever. Her anger flared, but before she could speak, Mia walked in from the living room and pulled her back. Chloe, it's not worth it, Mia said. Xavier had woken up too, looking pale and weak as he spoke. Mia, don't be mad. I'll clean it up. Knowing Mia's obsession with cleanliness, he turned to start cleaning, but Mia stopped him, her voice full of concern. Don't do it. Someone else will. Mike knew she meant him, but he ignored her and prepared to leave. Suddenly, Xavier collapsed to the floor in agony, looking like he was in extreme pain, and apologized weakly. I'm sorry, Mia. I'm always causing you trouble. Mia couldn't take it anymore. Between last night and this morning, she was furious, and her tone turned icy. Mike, there's a limit to your tantrums. Xavier is sick. Look at him, and you're making him do housework. What is wrong with you? Mike replied calmly, taking a step back. Don't say that. I never asked him to do anything. Mia wanted to argue, but Xavier gently tugged her hand, his eyes red as he whispered, I knew I shouldn't have come. Mia, don't be mad at Mr. Mike. I'll leave right now. He took 2 steps and collapsed again. The 2 women panicked, but Mike stood a meter away, watching the farce with a cold expression. Mia turned around and shouted, Mike, don't just stand there. Get Xavier to the hospital. Mike didn't speak, lost in thought, but he agreed because he needed to find out the truth about something. On the way to the hospital, Xavier lay in Mia's arms, looking so weak that Mia kept urging Mike to drive faster. Faster. Go faster. The tension was palpable. It was the first time Mike had seen Mia this panicked. He dropped them off and tried to leave, but Mia dragged him along to help get Xavier's reports and run tests. Halfway through, as results were coming in, Xavier stood up and apologized. I'm sorry, Mr. Mike, to trouble you. Before he could finish, a patient from the next apartment rushed out with a knife. The crowd scattered, but the attacker ran straight toward Mike. The dagger glinted in the light amidst the screams. Mike watched as Mia shielded Xavier behind her, pushing Mike to the front. He could have escaped, but the shove caught him off guard, and before he could react, the dagger was right in front of his eyes. He instinctively raised his arm to block, and the dagger plunged deep into his flesh. Blood gushed out as he gasped for air, the terror of death gripping him, and he fell back in agony, unable to speak. Mia rushed over instantly to check his wound, a flicker of heartache in her eyes. In his final moments of consciousness, he saw her face wet with tears. He was touched. 10 years of feelings were hard to let go. He thought she still loved him, but reality slapped him in the face. When he woke up, the hospital room was empty. He asked a nurse if she had seen a woman, but she just shook her head in confusion. That woman? Oh, she said you look fine, so she went to take care of Mr. Evans this afternoon. Mike lowered his head, feeling a lump in his throat that hurt to swallow. He had come into this world alone, and he would leave it alone. Apologizing to the nurse, he pulled out his drip and, despite his trembling, painful left arm, prepared to leave. As he came down, he saw Xavier leaning heavily on Mia as they walked downstairs. 2 girls passing by giggled, whispering about what a beautiful and loving couple they were. Mike smiled bitterly. Who would know that he was actually her husband of 10 years? Hearing a noise, Mia looked up and saw him. She was speechless for a moment before asking with concern, Does it still hurt? Then, with a hint of guilt, she added, Xavier's stomach pain is serious. I couldn't just ignore it. Since you're bandaged up, just go home. Mike gritted his teeth in silence. The anesthesia had worn off, and his wound burned like it was being torn apart, but he just smiled mockingly. So Xavier's stomach ache was a major issue, while his stab wound was nothing. Xavier, eyes red, spoke up again. Mia, don't worry about me. I can take care of myself. Go check on Mr. Mike. He tried to walk down the stairs alone, but stumbled immediately. Mia caught him just in time. Her eyes filled with concern as she pulled him closer. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Chloe ran up behind them, saw the scene, and threw the medication she was holding right at Mike. It hit his wound, causing blood to seep out. He wasn't one to complain about pain, but at that moment, it felt like his heart had been pierced. Mia noticed his expression and quickly intervened. Chloe, stop it. Chloe looked defiant and shouted arrogantly. Mia, what are you afraid of? You like Xavier anyway. Just use this chance to get a divorce. The word changed everyone's expression instantly. Mia panicked, forgetting Xavier for a moment to retort. What are you talking about? I never said I wanted a divorce. Chloe persisted, speaking for her. You work with Xavier, you've kissed him, you've hugged him. Of course you like him. Mike watched the drama unfold, exhausted. Mia, let's get a divorce. Dropping those words, he turned and walked away without looking back. When he got home, Mia wasn't there. That night, he blocked her on iMessage and everywhere else. He sat down and started packing, ready to move out. Xavier was here, and according to the story's plot, Mia would fall in love with him within a year, and they would be living together shortly after. He realized there was no point in staying. Mia didn't consider this a home, so why should he? But before leaving, he needed an answer to one question. After all these years, why didn't they have children? It had never happened, and now that he was leaving, he wanted to know why. As he packed, he set aside the pills Mia had given him for his health, intending to check them. He looked up to find Mia had returned. Seeing him packing, she asked uneasily, "Where are you going?" The usually proud woman showed a hint of panic for the first time, watching his expression closely. Mike didn't answer, unmoved. Only when she asked again did he lower his head and speak flatly. "I'm tired. I'm going to sleep." He walked in the bathroom, took a shower, and went to bed. Mia watched him, stunned, sensing something was wrong, but she comforted herself. It was fine. He wouldn't leave her. When Mia finished washing up, she heard Mike's steady breathing from the bedroom. She climbed into bed in the dark, pressing her body against his and wrapping her arms tightly around his waist, separated only by thin fabric. "Mike," she whispered, "I apologize for today. Xavier is sick and could need surgery at any moment. That's why Don't be mad, okay? I bought you a gift. I picked it out myself. Xavier knows he was wrong. He was crying today, begging me to apologize to you. He feels terrible." Her voice was seductive, but Mike just turned over, letting her kiss him in the dark. In her hand was a piece of exquisite black jade she had bought for him. He lay there with his eyes open, numb. He smiled bitterly. Was this charity? He stopped thinking and spoke suddenly, as if on purpose. "I didn't take my medicine today." Before he could finish, Mia sat up abruptly. "What? Didn't I tell you to take it?" Her reaction confirmed his suspicions about the pills. Mia got up to shower again, and realizing her attitude was suspicious, she tried to justify herself. "I told you that medicine is for your own good. If you don't take it, what if something happens?" Mike remained silent, and Mia softened her voice. "I have work to do. Go to sleep." Mike lowered his head and silently checked the living room camera feed. In the living room, she was holding her phone, texting Chloe. She wrote, "Every time you see Xavier, you have to buy a gift. Mia, I feel so bad for you." Mike smiled. He felt ridiculous. Mike stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. He knew the truth, but he went to the hospital the next day anyway. The doctor's words chilled him to the bone. The medicine suppressed his fertility and vitality. Taking too much was harmful, and he was advised to stop. He felt cold all over. It was laughable. The girlfriend he had trusted for so long had been lying to him the whole time. Walking out of the hospital, he saw Mia laughing with Xavier. Her expression changed the moment she saw him, and she spoke quickly. "Mike." Mike didn't answer, but Xavier stepped forward. "Sorry, Mr. Mike. My stomach was acting up yesterday. That's why Mia came to see me." When Mike didn't respond, Xavier apologized in a pitiful whisper. "I'm sorry, Mia. Mr. Mike seems mad at me." Mia stepped in front of him, looking at Mike. She felt a sudden panic and reached for his hand. She realized something had changed. But Mike turned away without a word, leaving the 28 gifts neatly arranged in the living room. He took his luggage and left the house. He had less than 36 hours to live, but he never expected it to end like this. When the thugs took him from a city center, Mike knew the moment of despair had arrived. His survival instinct urged him to run, but the system's death sequence had begun. His arm felt like insects were gnawing at it, and sweating profusely, he was dragged away, helpless. His phone was thrown in front of him, and the leader of the thugs screamed, "Damn you! You put us in jail for so long. Did you think we'd let you off? Call the girl. Tell her to come save you." Mike flinched, then picked up the phone and dialed. The first call went unanswered. So did the second. The third went to voicemail. Gritting his teeth and watching the increasingly agitated man, Mike dialed a fourth time. After a long ring, the call connected. He spoke quickly, trying to explain. He and Mia had a code word from high school. "I love you" meant danger. He had used it to save her many times. So he shouted, "Mia, I love you." But Mia didn't hear the pain in his voice or the signal he was sending. She paused, then asked in confusion, "Mike, what is it?" "I love you too." Mike felt despair creeping in, but he tried one last time, emphasizing the words. "I love you." He was on the verge of breaking. He couldn't believe she had forgotten. But Mia didn't give him the answer he needed. Instead, she asked, puzzled, "Mike, what's wrong with you today?" Before Mike could speak, Chloe's scream came through the phone. "Mia, help!" Xavier is coughing up blood. Mia hesitated. "What about you?" But her concern vanished instantly. "Mike, wait for me. I'll take care of Xavier one last time. Then I'm coming home. After this, I'll never see him again." Hearing this, Mike stopped struggling. Tears fell silently as he heard the footsteps approaching from behind. He whispered his final words. "Mia, I don't love you anymore. I wish you happiness." She didn't realize she had just thrown away her last chance to save him. She would never see him again. As the call ended, a thug smashed a weapon into his leg. Mike groaned in agony as the man grabbed him by the hair. "This is the woman you protected your whole life. Pathetic. Even at the end, she wouldn't come to save you." Mike was tortured for 12 hours. By the time he was found and taken to the hospital, he was unrecognizable. He was delirious and clinging to life when he arrived at the hospital. When the police found him, he was a bloody mess, his body destroyed. The hospital went on high alert. Mia was preparing to join the surgical team when she was stopped. Xavier collapsed in pain, grabbing her hand with red eyes. "Mia, my stomach hurts so bad. Can you take me to my room first?" Mia brushed past Mike's gurney, glancing at the bloody figure. She hesitated and asked, "Does the patient have any other symptoms besides trauma?" The doctor shook his head anxiously. "We don't know yet, Dr. Miller." But Mia just glanced at him and turned away with Xavier, leaving quickly with one instruction. "Wait for me to get back." Mike lay on the bed, his voice raspy. Sweat poured down his face as he bit his own arm in pain, tears mixing with the sweat. Watching Mia walk away, he tasted blood. He checked the countdown on his phone. The system was precise, and he wouldn't die until the very last second. He closed his eyes, feeling the endless pain, and shed a single tear. The doctors, desperate, shouted at him to stay awake. "Stay with us. Don't sleep." A nurse returned empty-handed and spoke helplessly. "All the best doctors are with Mr. Evans for his stomachache. We have to wait." But Mike couldn't wait. His vision went white, and he slipped into a coma as the machines blared. Knowing time was running out, the doctor went to get Mia himself. Only Mike knew that he was finally going to be free. When Mia finally arrived, Mike had been unconscious for 10 minutes, hanging by a thread. Realizing the gravity of the situation, she rushed into the brightly lit operating room, asking for the patient's details. Patient identity unknown. Male, approximately 29 years old. Mia froze. Mike was the same age, but she dismissed the thought immediately. Mike had just called her. It couldn't be him. She began the surgery. The patient's bones were full of glass shards, and as she picked them out one by one, she winced at the severity of the injuries. "Poor guy." A doctor sighed, looking at the damage. Mia broke out in a cold sweat. Even as a top surgeon, she held her breath, hoping to minimize his pain. But her scalpel stopped when she reached his heart. The bone fragments were embedded in the flesh, indistinguishable. The young nurses were tearing up, unable to comprehend such brutality. But Mia dropped her scalpel with a clang. She saw a scar she knew all too well. Others wouldn't know, but she did. It was the scar from when Mike took a fatal stab wound for her years ago, right over his heart. "Dr. Miller?" Someone called out. Her hand trembled, and she realized she was losing composure. She tried to calm down, looking at the person before her. It was impossible. It couldn't be Mike. He had called her, asking her to come home early. He was probably cooking dinner right now, waiting to tell her something important. She took a new scalpel and continued suturing. The patient's wounds were extensive and festering, shocking her. She remembered that Mike hated pain. "Dr. Miller, why did you stop?" Someone noticed her hesitation. She was usually the hospital's best surgeon, never indecisive. "Have you identified the patient yet?" she asked. Everyone fell silent. They hadn't. In a rush to save his life, no one had prioritized it. Mia snapped out of it, apologizing to the team. "I'm sorry. I've been tired lately." The patient stabilized, but as she stitched him up, her heart raced and her hands trembled. Handing the final sutures to a colleague, she stepped out to make a call. She called Mike. She didn't know his phone was charging in the operating room, so the call wouldn't go through. As the phone rang, Mia frowned. Mike never ignored her calls like this. She worried something had happened. In her panic, her mind wandered to the patient in the operating room. Could it be Mike? The thought terrified her, making her tremble. But she shook her head. The patient seemed much shorter than Mike. She didn't know that the thugs had broken Mike's legs, and a section of bone was missing, making him appear shorter. Relaxing her grip, she called Xavier. Xavier thought she was calling about his stomach, but he froze when she asked, "Did Mike call you?" He frowned in confusion, but hearing her concern, he admitted it, adding sourly, "Yeah, he did. Mia, Mr. Mike said he hates me. He said if I'd left sooner, he wouldn't have to see me again. I'm sorry, Mia. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't want to ruin your relationship." Usually, Mia would have comforted him, but this time she just sighed in relief. "Good. As long as he called you, that's good." She hung up immediately, leaving Xavier confused. But Mia was relieved. If Mike had called Xavier, he was still alive. That meant the patient in the room couldn't be Mike. She smiled, but as she turned back to the operating room, she froze. Her panic hadn't subsided at all. Fear gripped her, and cold sweat beaded on her forehead. She called Chloe, who answered impatiently, groggy from sleep. "Chloe, check where Mike went yesterday." Chloe thought it was an emergency, but when she heard the request, she scoffed. "Mia, you're overreacting. Mike is fine. He's just playing hard to get your attention. Don't fall for it." Mia frowned. "I know, but I'm really panicked. Just help me, please." Annoyed, Chloe agreed. Fine. I'll help you, but it's a waste of time. Mike loves you too much to leave." As she hung up, thunder rumbled overhead. Mia looked up at the sky. This weather was a bad omen. She remembered it was cloudy like this the day her mother died. But she relaxed when Chloe messaged her. According to last night's GPS signal, Mike had just gone to the mountains. Chloe scolded her for overthinking, but Mia felt a surge of relief. As long as he was okay, that was all that mattered. If Mike was still around, she could apologize, and he would forgive her. But she didn't know that Chloe had only checked last night's location, not his current one. Mike was fighting for his life just a wall away. Relieved, Mia went back into the operating room. "Dr. Miller, you're back." The team was relieved. Only Mia could perform such a complex surgery. Mia took the scalpel, smiled faintly, and began to work. But she started when she touched the infected wound on his right arm. Mike had a similar knife wound from defending her a few days ago. Her mind raced, exploding like fireworks, but she tried to reassure herself. Impossible. She knew Mike's wound. She had taken him to the hospital herself. It couldn't have gotten this bad. It must be a fresh wound from last night. Urged by her colleagues, she realized she was distracted and resumed the surgery. She removed countless wood splinters from his abdomen. A nurse sighed. "I heard they caught the guy. He said the victim was pathetic, calling his girlfriend right before he died." The room went silent at the next words. But the girlfriend didn't save him. She only answered after 4 calls, and there was another guy with her. "It's tragic." "Yeah, and I heard he got targeted because he put those thugs in jail to save his girlfriend years ago." Mia swayed, barely able to stand. A nurse steadied her, shocked by her pale face. Mia's hands shook uncontrollably, and sweat beaded on her forehead. She remembered the confusing call from Mike earlier, wishing her happiness. Could it be? She tried to calm herself. No, it was impossible. She was just panicking. Just days ago, he talked about wanting children, a beautiful daughter to play games with. He wouldn't leave her, but anxiety overwhelmed her. She called Chloe again, begging her to find Mike's exact location right now. She had to know. Only then did she calm down slightly. The surgery went well. After suturing, the patient's vitals stabilized. Everything seemed to be improving. Mike woke up one last time, and seeing Mia's gentle eyes through the haze, he smiled. "Mia." No one heard him, and though Mia saw his lips move, his injuries made his words unintelligible. As his heart rate normalized, Mia finally began to relax. Chloe had called multiple times, but Mia couldn't answer until the surgery was done. She expected news that Mike had been found, but her face fell as she listened, her heart pounding. "Mia, listen to me. Don't panic. Mike is at the hospital. His coordinates. He's right where you are." Before she could finish, alarms blared in the operating room. A nurse ran out, shouting that the patient was crashing. Dropping her phone, she rushed back in. The patient was coughing up blood, blurring her vision. She tried to save him, but Mike lay limp on the bed. Knowing it was hopeless, she sighed, deciding to call the time of death and notify the family. She approached him, eyes red, watching his life fade. Leaning in, she whispered, "You can say one last thing. I'll tell your family." She knew hearing was the last sense to go. And then she heard it, a trembling whisper. "I wish you happiness." Stunned, she looked up to see the heart monitor flatline. Accustomed to death, she sighed, prepared to notify the family, and pulled the white sheet over him. Suddenly, her phone rang. It was Uncle Hank, shouting over the noise. "Mia, did you hear me? Mike is right there with you." Her phone dropped to the floor. She spun around, trembling, and dialed Mike's number. The ringtone echoed in the operating room. Standing by the table, she slowly walked forward and pulled back the sheet she had just placed. She finally saw it clearly. The broken face on the bed was her lover of 10 years. Trembling, She wiped the blood from his face and let out a broken laugh. How is this possible? How can this be Mike? There must be a mistake. It has to be a mistake. She frantically tried to stop the bleeding with gauze, but it soaked through instantly. She screamed for the best hemostatics, but the staff just watched her in shock. It was useless. The machine signaled his death. She ran to the machine, smashing it and screaming, "Stop ringing! Don't take my mic away!" But the machine didn't care. She collapsed to the floor, deaf to Chloe's voice screaming from the phone. The staff tried to help her, but she pushed them away, refusing to let anyone near Mike. "Get away! Everyone get away! Leave us alone!" Confused and frightened, the staff retreated to avoid getting hurt. When Xavier arrived, she was hugging Mike's body, whispering, "Let's go home, okay? You took care of me for so long. Now it's my turn. I was wrong. Please just look at me. Open your eyes. Please just look at me," she whispered, afraid to disturb the body. She lay helplessly on the corpse, tearless and catatonic. Shocked, Xavier tried to pull her away, but Mia was surprisingly strong. She turned on him, eyes red with rage. "Get away. I'll kill anyone who tries to stop me." Xavier was terrified, his prepared speech forgotten. Mia, what's wrong?" The hospital director finally administered a sedative from behind. She passed out within 30 minutes, but her grip on Mike was so tight it took 3 doctors to pry her away. Everyone was shocked, though they guessed the truth. The man on the table was Mia's partner of 10 years, Mike. When Xavier and Chloe arrived, Mia was in a hospital bed, frowning in her sleep as she murmured Mike's name over and over. Mia woke up a day later, bandaged and hooked up to an 4. Confused and with a splitting headache, she spoke. "Why am I here?" Xavier and Chloe froze, realizing she seemed to have forgotten about Mike. This was good news. If Mia forgot Mike, Xavier could officially become her boyfriend. "Mia, you're awake? You got sick a couple of days ago, so Chloe and I brought you here." Chloe watched her closely, afraid she might remember. "I need water." Xavier immediately handed her a cup, helping her drink. "It's warm water." "Mia, how do you feel? Does anything hurt?" he asked anxiously. Mia just stared at them, confused. "What's wrong with you guys?" "I'm fine, just thirsty." She tried to get out of bed. "I can't stay here. I have surgery to perform. The director said there's a huge surgery today. I have to go." Xavier and Chloe were shocked, but Chloe reacted quickly. "Mia, just rest. Someone else is covering it." Mia looked at her strangely. "Why are you acting so weird? Are you hiding something?" Chloe dropped the water glass, shattering it, but she denied it. "No, of course not." Xavier chimed in. "Mia, you're just tired. Rest, and I'll take you home when you're better." Mia nodded doubtfully and lay back down. Weird. Seeing she wasn't suspicious, Xavier and Chloe relaxed, thinking the shock had made her forget Mike. On the day of her discharge, Mia walked out in a white dress and asked, "Why isn't Mike here to pick me up? We agreed he would pick me up. Where is he?" She turned to Chloe. "Chloe, call him. He must be waiting." Xavier and Chloe knew they couldn't hide it anymore. Xavier hugged her. "Mia, Mr. Mike?" Mia pushed him away impatiently. "What about him?" Chloe rushed to hug her, crying. "Mia, he's dead. But you still have us, Mia." Mia stood frozen, repeating, "How is that possible? He said he wouldn't leave me." "You're lying. You're all liars." They had no choice but to take her to the morgue. As the elevator descended, Mia began to tremble. She knew where they were going. The morgue was cold and damp, but she walked straight to a specific body without guidance. She pulled back the white sheet to reveal a lifeless, silent Mike who no longer loved her. Mia stared for a long time, then shook her head in confusion. "This isn't my Mike. My Mike is tall, thin, and handsome. This can't be him." She turned to Xavier and Chloe, angry. "Stop lying to me. It's not funny. Tell him to come out, or I'll get mad." Her voice echoed in the morgue like a judgment from hell. Chloe realized Mia was furious, but she didn't know how to explain that Mike was truly dead. They tried to explain that this was Mike's body, but Mia stubbornly refused to believe it. "Impossible. It's not him. We've been together for 10 years. He wouldn't leave me." She smiled sweetly as she said it. The others fell silent. She was in denial. The hospital director arrived, having heard the commotion. He knew it was Mia. Director Chen walked up to her, understanding that grief could cause memory loss and denial. But he knew Mia had abandoned her duties during the surgery. She was his best doctor, yet she had neglected her ethics, which infuriated him. The failure of the surgery was entirely her fault. He spoke with resentment. "Don't you know the truth? Why did you leave during the surgery? Why weren't you focused? The police told me you didn't answer his last call. Mia, you know what you did." His blunt words brought her memories flooding back. Pale, she stared at the corpse, forgetting to breathe. The air was freezing and silent. She looked closely at the pale body and touched the icy, lifeless shell. Director Chun delivered the final blow. You are the one who killed him." He turned and left. The morgue was silent except for Mia's painful sobs and screams. "Stop! Please stop!" Realizing the truth, she collapsed, screaming his name like a madwoman. "Mike! Mike!" Xavier couldn't watch anymore and tried to hold her, but her next words proved she had lost her mind. She stood up and hugged the cold corpse. She felt the broken skeleton and whispered, "Mike hasn't been eating well, he's so thin. But it was okay. She was here. She would take him home and fatten him up. She would take him back to the home they had shared for 10 years. Many people attended Mike's funeral, including Mia's mother. Mia stared at the familiar woman in disbelief. Why are you here?" The woman wiped her tears and spoke guiltily. "Mike has been in touch with me for years. I know I caused you pain when I left, but Mike said you missed me. I was afraid to see you, afraid to remind you of the past. But seeing Mike with you made me feel better." Mia was stunned. She had no idea Mike had done so much for her behind her back. Her mother continued, teary-eyed. "Mia, you've had a hard life, but you were lucky to have Mike. Now that he's gone, I hope you can move on." Mia broke down in her mother's arms. She cried because she knew she had thrown away her own happiness. Xavier, who hadn't spoken to Mia in a while, approached her by the coffin. "Mia, I'm here. Don't be afraid. I can take care of you instead of him." He promised, but Mia didn't react. Everyone kept telling her Mike was dead, but she felt he was just sleeping, exhausted. He was so thin lately. She called to him, but he ignored her, refusing to open his eyes, as if he hated her. She panicked, thinking he was angry. She leaned into the cold coffin and took his hand. It was freezing. The cold made her shudder. Xavier wanted to speak, but stopped when he saw her desolate expression. He thought he could win her over after the funeral. But as he turned to leave, Mia whispered to the corpse, "It's too cold here. Mike, let's go home, okay?" Everyone watched in silence, knowing she was grieving. They watched as she carefully lifted Mike's body, his pale arm dangling, and kissed his lips. "Good night, Mike." Everyone sighed, speechless, but they didn't know her plan. At midnight, Mia moved Mike's body and hid it upstairs. She was delusional, believing everyone was trying to keep them apart. The next day, she sealed the coffin herself and refused to let the staff check it. On the way to the cemetery, Xavier spoke again. "Mia, Mike is really gone." Before he could finish, Mia screamed, glaring at him. "Shut up. My Mike is just sleeping." They thought she was just having a breakdown that day. But no one knew that night. Mia held the corpse and whispered, "Mike, now we could be together forever." Xavier tried to visit her the next day, but she wouldn't open the door. "Mia." He waited until noon, when Mia finally emerged, pale and looking at him like an enemy. "What do you want?" Her cold stare frightened him, but he didn't want to give up. "Mia, forget him. I'll treat you better than he ever did." He thought his promises would work, but Mia looked at him with suspicion and hatred, like a venomous snake. "Get lost. I don't need you." Mia walked away quickly. Xavier, though shaken, followed her. "Mia, come on. I know you miss Mr. Mike, but he's gone. You need me." He looked smug, but Mia didn't react at all. He stepped back, sensing something was wrong. Yet Mia seemed normal, even happy, as if she had found a treasure. He followed her all day until they reached her house. He tried to enter with her, but she stopped him. "I have a husband. Stay away from me." Xavier froze, then hugged her waist, pleading, "Mia, Mr. Mike is gone. Why won't you look at me? I'll be so much better for you. What was so great about him anyway?" Mia's expression changed instantly, and she pushed him away. "You don't get to talk about him. I'm warning you. I'm married. You're harassing me, and if you don't stop, I'll call the police." Seeing her seriousness, Xavier realized she meant it. He didn't understand what had changed. His tricks used to work on her. Now, she wouldn't even let him inside. As Mia entered the villa, Xavier shouted, "Mia, I'll make you love me, no matter how long it takes." He didn't know that night. Mia slept holding a cold corpse, whispering gently, "Mike, don't be mad. I didn't let him touch me." No one expected Mia's condition to last for 2 weeks. She even missed a crucial research conference. Xavier hadn't seen her either. Chloe showed up, furious. "What did you do?" "Mia deleted me." Xavier checked his phone and saw the red exclamation mark indicating he was blocked too. Realizing the seriousness, they went to find Mia. They found the villa empty. Mia had vanished. Chloe tracked her phone to a nondescript residential area. When they found her, she was at a market, smiling gently as she spoke to someone. "You're so good to your husband, buying groceries every day." "Your husband must be very happy," the old man said. Mia smiled sweetly. "Being with my husband is my greatest happiness. We've been together for 10 years, and we'll be together for much longer." They watched from behind, afraid to disturb her. As she shopped, she muttered to herself, "Mike hasn't been well. I need to cook him something nutritious." Dressed simply, she bought groceries and went home. Soon, the smell of food wafted from the house. They were confused. Mike was dead, so who was she cooking for? They asked the neighbors about her. Everyone said she was a devoted wife who cooked for her husband every day. Husband? Where did this husband come from? Chloe decided to approach Mia first. Despite being blocked, they had been friends for 8 years. Xavier agreed. But when Chloe approached, Mia looked at her with suspicion. What are you doing here? Are you trying to steal Mike from me? Chloe teared up, remembering the gentle young man. She couldn't deny that she had once had feelings for Mike. But seeing her best friend like this broke her heart. Mia, I understand. I love him too. I know you're hurting. Let me help you. Mia fell silent. She knew Chloe's nitpicking of Mike had just been her way of hiding her feelings. Chloe hugged her, sobbing. Mia, please come back to us. But the next day, Mia found police at her building. Realizing something was wrong, she rushed back to see Xavier and the police removing Mike's body. No, don't take Mike. She screamed and lunged for Mike's hand, but the body was so decomposed that she only grabbed rotting flesh. Everyone recoiled in horror as Mia screamed. While the police hesitated, Xavier stepped forward to hold her back. Everyone thought she was crazy, but her lover was being taken away. Xavier hugged her, a flash of triumph in his eyes. Now, she had no one but him. Chloe looked at Mia in panic. Mia glared at her with red eyes. You lied to me. You said you'd help me protect him. You liar. I hate you. Chloe cried, shouting back desperately. Mike will be devastated if he saw you like this. Mia, wake up. Mike is dead. That's just a corpse. Mia froze, silent, not even resisting Xavier's embrace. You lied to me. You all lied to me. Chloe was desperate. Mike had always been clean, and seeing his body like this would have broken him. For both their sakes, she had to ensure he was laid to rest properly. The cremation took place with Chloe, Xavier, and Mia present. The staff were disgusted by the state of the body. The body is in this condition? What happened? No one answered. Chloe signed the papers for Mia, who sat on the ground like a soulless doll. Mia, this is the right thing to do. You can't hide him. He's dead. Chloe shook her. Mia, Mike loved being clean. He wouldn't want to see himself like this. Mia, look at me. Mia said nothing, standing up with empty eyes, ignoring her. After collecting the ashes, her life felt like it was ending. Her best friend had betrayed her, and she didn't know who to trust. She walked back to the villa, but hesitated at the door. She remembered when she first bought it. Mike had cooked a feast, and they had drunk wine together. She had promised to be his beautiful bride. Now, pushing open the door, the air smelled stale and decaying. Her voice floated in the air. Welcome home, Mike. She was speaking to herself and to the ashes in her arms. Mia decided to leave. She used to think Mike couldn't live without her, but now she realized she couldn't live without him. The world without him felt suffocating. Every night, she dreamed of his blurry face. She tried to hug him, but he vanished. Waking up in a cold sweat, she muttered, "Is this my punishment, Mike?" Unable to sleep, she started packing and found the medicine she used to give him in the corner of the room. Xavier had given her the pills, claiming they would help Mike's heart. Since the stabbing, Mike couldn't handle strenuous activity, so they had been careful. She had gotten a medicine for Mike's sake, recommended by Xavier, but seeing the report in the drawer, she froze. The report stated the drug reduced sperm count and had severe side effects. Her hand trembled. She had no idea Mike had been suffering like this. Memories flooded back. She remembered seeing Mike pale at the hospital. He must have found out about the medicine and misunderstood her intentions. The medicine had destroyed their relationship. Trembling with rage, she couldn't believe she had caused her lover so much pain. So when Xavier visited the next day, she hugged him warmly. Xavier, I'm so glad you're here. I've lost Mike. I can't lose you too. Xavier was thrilled, but feigned tears of joy. Mia, finally, he looked into her eyes, unaware of the icy hatred hidden beneath her gaze. I knew you still loved me. Mia lowered her eyes, responding mechanically. She would never forgive him. For the next 2 weeks, she accompanied Xavier everywhere, her acting skills hiding her burning hatred from everyone. Then she learned Xavier had a career-defining research conference coming up. She asked sweetly, Xavier, I want to go too. You know I love astronomy, and I'd love to meet the experts. Please take me with you. Xavier hesitated, not wanting to risk his future, but seeing her recovery, he agreed. What could Mia possibly do? He gave her the best seat in the house. When it was time to present, she stood beside him, sharing the spotlight. He didn't know this would become his nightmare. After Xavier finished, Mia spoke. Calmly addressing the crowd, she dropped a bombshell. I testify that all of Xavier Evans' research is fraudulent. In the original story, Xavier had faked his research until Mia reformed him. But this Mia was different. She was the Mia who had been loved by Mike for 10 years. Xavier stared in shock, then tried to deny it. You're lying. Mia, what are you doing? Get away. But his outburst only made the professors more suspicious. Please look at the screen. Here is the proof of his fraud. If I'm lying, may I rot in hell. Xavier's heart sank. Impossible. Mia, you love me. Stop joking. Is this a prank? Are you proposing to me? Stop it, Mia. As he was dragged away, he saw the detailed evidence on the screen and realized she had done this for revenge. He struggled free, shouting, Mia, Mia, you lied to me. You did this for Mike. Xavier was a mental wreck in court, repeating the same words. He offered money to stay out of jail, but the evidence was overwhelming, and he couldn't prove Mia had framed him. Standing in court, he finally felt regret. Please, let me go, Mia. I won't bother you again. He pleaded guilty, but Mia wouldn't look at him. He cried uncontrollably. Mia refused compensation, insisting on prison time. Hearing the verdict, Xavier collapsed and shouted, Why? Aren't you to blame too? Did I force you to flirt with me? It was your lack of trust. Mia, you are the one who really killed him. He screamed, tearing into her. Mia, Mike will never forgive you. Even in death, he won't forgive you. Mia glared at him coldly. Why did you lie to me? Why did you give Mike those pills? What was your intention? Xavier fell silent, muttering, Xavier was taken away with a heavy sentence. But his words haunted her. Mike wouldn't forgive her. What if he really wouldn't forgive her? She took his ashes to the beach, her hatred replaced by endless regret. She broke down crying. Mike, I was wrong. Please come back to me. Only the sound of the waves answered her. Mia decided to leave. She drove to the countryside village where she and Mike had once lived. That was where she met the 17-year-old Mike. He had appeared in her life like a beam of light, but she had lost her light forever. The old house was in ruins, uninhabitable. She sat amidst the rubble, lost. A teacher who recognized her approached. Are you Mia? Mia forced a smile and nodded. Where's Mike? Why isn't he with you? The teacher asked. He loved you so much back then. Mia's gaze darkened, and the teacher noticed the box with Mike's photo next to her. The teacher sighed, speechless. Mia smiled. It's okay. I believe he's still with me. I remember you two used to meet under that big tree. I caught you so many times. You even got married there. And now, the teacher walked away sighing. Mia stood up suddenly. She remembered burying something there. She dug it up and opened it. Inside was a thin letter written by Mike. Mia read slowly, realizing how much Mike had suffered in silence. He had hidden his pain and sorrow from her. His silence was the cruelest punishment. Tears soaked the letter as she sobbed uncontrollably. Mike, she wailed. Before leaving, she put on a pink dress Mike loved. He hated revealing clothes, and she wanted to look beautiful for him. She straightened her hair because he used to say it was beautiful. Finally, she took a hot bath. Mike was a germaphobe, so she wanted to be clean when she met him. She danced in front of the mirror, happy as if she were going on a date. She took all the sleeping pills and lay on the bed. She had set a fire break around the house so the flames wouldn't spread to the neighbors. Her stomach churned, but she felt blissful. She was finally going to see him. Wearing his favorite dress and hairstyle, she didn't ask for forgiveness, only to see him happy. As her consciousness faded, she entered another world. The sun was shining, the air was warm, and she saw Mike standing under a tree in the distance. She tried to speak, her voice hoarse. Mike walked out of the classroom, looking indifferent. Since returning to this world, he had lost interest in everything. No longer the gentle boy the teachers knew. His desk mate, Sarah, was a bubbly girl who always tried to cheer him up. Mike, Sarah bounded over like a butterfly, grinning. Did you do your English homework? Let me copy it. Mike ignored her, staring out the window. People said he was a slacker, indifferent to everything. Even his mother's beatings and scoldings couldn't snap him out of his decadence. No one knew that he still dreamed of her every night, waking up in a cold sweat. He would laugh then. His heart didn't love her, but his body still did. For 3 months, he got into tattoos and music, trying to fill the void in his heart. He started singing at a bar. The first time his mother smashed his guitar in the bar, everyone backed away in fear. Only Sarah stood in front of him to protect him. Mrs. Zhou, you don't know what he wants, Sarah said firmly, understanding him better than anyone. But Mike just sneered. And you do? What do you know about me? Sarah, you're disgusting. Stay away from me. Get lost. You're so annoying. Sarah froze, tears filling her eyes, and ran out. Mike closed his eyes and lay down backstage. Roxy, the bar owner, walked up to him. That's no way to treat a girl. She likes you, you know. Mike didn't look up, just cursed softly. I'm not good enough for her. Sarah was a top student. They were only desk mates because the teacher hoped she would be a good influence on him. There was no future for them, and he didn't want one. He just wanted to die quietly somewhere. But Sarah returned the next day, chatting away as if nothing had happened. Her resilience confused him. He ignored her, sleeping through class and only waking up to read music sheets. Sarah did his homework for him, and he didn't even notice. "Mike," Sarah whispered to him after class, her voice soft as a cloud. "You like a fog I can't catch. Tell me what you like. I'll learn it." Mike leaned away, silent. He didn't know the answer himself. When he left, Sarah followed him like a puppy. People mocked her, but she just stuck her tongue out at them and laughed. None of your business. Her brightness was torture to him. He knew who he was. He and Sarah were from different worlds. But Sarah was relentless, her youthful infatuation overpowering everything else. Seeing her trailing behind him, Mike walked into the bar's lounge area, where heartbroken women often drank their sorrows away. He sat next to Roxy and wiped a drop of wine from her lip. "Let me drink that for you," he said. Roxy was confused at first, but then she spotted the plain-looking girl standing behind him and understood immediately. Whether she was just letting loose or indulging a hidden crush, Roxy drank heavily. She leaned against Mike's shoulder, feeling a flutter in her heart for the first time. Mike was always respectful and kept his distance from women. Even though he was using Roxy to make a point, he simply sat beside her without doing anything else. Sarah lowered her head and ran off. "Don't go. Have another drink with me." Roxy slurred, a bit tipsy, but Mike had already stood up, heading backstage. Mike ignored her, looking at the spot where Sarah had been, lost in thought. He was usually stoic, but that night his voice was incredibly raspy as he sang love songs. He wasn't classically handsome, but his aloof demeanor made him unique in the bar, attracting many women. He didn't care, though. He just finished his set, took his pay, and left. Roxy always called him cold, saying he never invested energy in anything else. He never argued because he knew she was right. But to his surprise, Sarah was waiting under the tree the next day. He thought he'd scared her off, but she rushed toward him like a fearless warrior. "Mike, are you trying to show me that we're from different worlds? Are you trying to make me give up?" Sarah shouted at him. Mike usually pulled all-nighters and came to school early to sleep, but Sarah was already there. He didn't know how long she had been waiting. "Just watch, Mike. I'm going to make you fall in love with me. I won't give up." The girl declared war for his heart and ran off like the wind, leaving behind the scent of lavender shampoo. He knew he couldn't return her feelings, but as he stood there confused, a voice from the distance froze him in his tracks. Mia, wearing a school uniform, stood at the school gate, looking at him with tear-filled eyes. She called out softly again, "Mike!" Mike stared at her as if she were a ghost, thinking he was hallucinating. But then Mia smiled and spoke. "Hello, 17-year-old Mike. I'm 18-year-old Mia." Mia was beautiful and gentle. Her arrival as a transfer student caused a sensation. She smiled warmly at everyone who tried to befriend her. Mike sat at his desk, his mind reeling. He couldn't believe Mia was here. In reality, Mia had arrived earlier and had awakened a mysterious system of her own. The system gave her a new identity. On her first day, she saw Mike at the school gate, but her Mike was thin and his expression was distant. He didn't smile anymore. That was her first thought. She needed a reason to approach him, so she waited until she could transfer to his school. Finally, she was by his side. "Mike, what are you having for lunch?" Under everyone's gaze, Mia walked up to Mike and asked softly with a smile. Mike frowned in annoyance. He had finally found some peace, and now she was here to ruin it. "Get lost. None of your business." Sensing a threat, Sarah chimed in, urging her to leave. "Go away. Mike doesn't like you." Mia looked at the girl who knew nothing of the truth and smiled. "He does like me. After all, he loved me for 10 years. She smiled and walked away, deciding to give Mike some time to process. Mike was incredibly annoyed. Sarah, being young and naive, believed Mia's words and grew anxious. She watched Mike sleeping, wanting to ask him if it was true, but she was too afraid to ask, fearing the answer. After school, Mike went to the bar, but this time, both Sarah and Mia followed him. Mia's stunning beauty drew everyone's attention. She acknowledged the stares politely, but kept her eyes fixed on Mike on stage. Mike, do you want some water?" Sarah was waiting backstage and handed him a bottle. Mia followed them and spoke softly. "You've been singing for a while. Drink some tea instead. I brewed jasmine tea just for you. It's your favorite." Roxy sighed, remarking on Mike's luck with women. Mike, annoyed beyond measure, pushed both their hands away and left. He walked along the river with his guitar, but Mia was the first to find him. Mia sat beside him in silence. By the time Mike wanted to speak, she was gone, leaving behind a new guitar pick. She had noticed his old one was worn out. Mike looked at the new pick, then tossed it into the river. "Mia, stop coming for me." He whispered the words to himself and walked away. His family had practically disowned him, No one wanted to deal with his decadence anymore. He slept on the grass in a park. When he woke up the next morning, he found a thin blanket covering him. Obviously, Mia had done it. Mike knew Mia wouldn't give up. This went on for a year, until Sarah entered her senior year. Mia was famous at school, known for being madly in love with Mike. Mike's decadent look wasn't popular, and Mia's presence made people hate him even more. He was constantly pelted with paper balls, which eventually escalated into collective bullying. Mia protected him from the rumors, just as he had once done for her, and even helped him apply to be a day student so he wouldn't have to live on campus. Mike became increasingly quiet, almost invisible to others. Realizing this couldn't go on, Mike sought Mia out. She had made him breakfast and lunch for a year and handled all his chores, yet he hadn't spoken a word to her. But now that he had come to her, Mia blushed like a child who had just been given candy. Really? Mike? Hearing the name he hated, Mike nodded but spoke with rejection in his voice. Don't call me Mike. They met at the empty bar. It was closed for the day. Mike curled up on the sofa, looking alarmingly thin. Mia's heart ached, but she suppressed her emotions and asked carefully. This was a side of Mia he had never seen. She used to be impulsive and quit everything within a month, but she had served him for a year. Even he was impressed. She sat opposite him, cautious. He knew nothing he said would change her mind. Mia, I know I can't convince you, but I'm not the Mike you knew. The souls of his 17-year-old self and his 29-year-old self were merging, confusing even him. Mia lowered her eyes, knowing what was coming but still affected. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to atone for my sins. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. Mia whispered, humble to the core, a stark contrast to her old self. But Mike hardened his heart, listing the unnecessary suffering she had caused him, and finally spoke with resentment. But all my suffering is because of you. Do you think you're some kind of savior? Mia, you make me sick. You already killed me once. Do you want to kill me again? Mia froze, smiled bitterly, then bowed low in panic and fled the room. Mia fled in defeat, leaving Mike alone in the dark like a ghost. But he didn't know that day would be the turning point of his life. A family emergency struck. His mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. When he rushed to the hospital, his heart pounded with fear. He stood frozen, staring at his mother on the bed, whispering, Mom. When Sarah arrived at the hospital, Mike was sitting in a hallway, lost in thought. She hugged him, her tears soaking his shoulder, and reality finally hit him. He remembered asking Sarah, Am I going to lose my mom? Will I be a motherless child? Sarah had told him no, that his mother would live a long life. Mike's father walked out of the room, looking haggard. Seeing Mike, he spoke quietly. You're here. Go see your mother. Sarah followed Mike into the room and saw the devastating effects of cancer. She was pale as a ghost. Having experienced death, Mike knew how terrifying it was. He rushed out of the room, hating himself for his inaction and decadence. He bumped into his father, who bent down to pick up the scattered medical bills without a word. You have class soon. Go back to school. I'll handle things here. Mike said nothing, letting Sarah lead him away. He grew up in that instant. Before leaving, he gave his father all the money he had earned from singing at the bar. His father was surprised, but took the money. Against the disease, they were helpless. Sarah helped Mike for a while, but then she disappeared. When she reappeared, Mike noticed a bitterness in her smile. She still tried to cheer him up, but in the hospital garden, she tugged at his shirt. Mike wanted to speak, but she stopped him. Don't say anything. Just let me stay like this for a moment, okay? Mike finally understood. Sarah's parents couldn't stand her chasing a delinquent like him and were sending her abroad. She had fought back, but it was useless. Mike, I'm leaving. Did you know? You always asked why I liked you. It's because when people spread rumors about me, you were the only one who defended me. It was nothing to you, but I was bullied in middle school, and I didn't want high school to be the same. My parents expect so much from me. I hated this school. I didn't know how to handle the boys' harassment, but I realized that if I stuck with you, they'd leave me alone. Mike, I like you. Sarah kissed him quickly and ran away. Watching her run under the moonlight reminded him of Sailor Moon. He sincerely hoped she could be the warrior of her own world. He stood still until she disappeared, then turned and walked the other way. This was the best ending for them. They were never meant to be, and he was grateful for the time they had shared. Mike never saw Mia again. He dropped out of high school and became a full-time bar singer, working day and night. Roxy told him to slow down, but once she learned about his mother, she quietly found him easier gigs. Mike started drinking heavily. The female customers tipped generously, sometimes more than his singing wage. The disease forced him to grow up overnight. Unbeknownst to him, Mia was secretly helping him, slipping him extra tips during chaotic nights or visiting the hospital to care for his mother. She was like the wind, coming and going without a trace, and Mike never noticed. Then came the days of the college entrance exams. But those dates meant nothing to Mike now. He was packing his things. Roxy's bar was closing down. The small town was emptying out as people left for the big cities to find work. On the last day, Mike showed up. Roxy poured him a drink and asked what he planned to do, but she answered before he could speak. "I'm getting married. I'm 35. It's time to settle down." Mike nodded, acknowledging her words. He didn't know what to say, so he just offered, "Congratulations." Roxy smiled bitterly, calling him boring. After 2 more drinks, she talked about her past. "I used to be so ambitious. I thought I'd never marry, just have lots of young boyfriends like you. But reality hits. The girl went abroad. Your mom got sick. I'm getting married." She smiled through tears and clinked glasses with Mike. "I'm glad I met you." She downed her drink and left with a flourish. Mike never saw Roxy again. With no degree, Mike went to the big city and gave up music for construction work, the fastest way to make money. He became like the vulgar men he used to despise, crude and beaten down by the burden of supporting his family. He worked like a dying ox, day and night, drinking during breaks to numb the pain. His father worked hard labor too. They had no choice. That New Year's, Mike stayed in the hospital. He had matured so much in a year that he no longer looked like a teenager. He had killed his 17-year-old self, but then he bumped into her, Mia, giving his mother a sponge bath in the middle of the night. He hadn't seen her in ages and froze. She looked more mature now, and the moment she saw him, she tried to slip away. For the first time, he reached out and caught her hand, asking, "How long have you been doing this?" Mia panicked and tried to pull away, silent, knowing how much he despised her. But Mike's grip was strong, the calluses on his rough hands rasping against her palm. Stripped of the novel's wealth and status, they stood there like 2 raw, vulnerable human beings. "Since the day you dropped out," she whispered. Mike followed Mia, watching as she helped his mother shift positions in bed. Puzzled, he asked, "When did you learn how to do all this?" Mia lowered her head in silence, and Mike realized she had grown used to not speaking. Looking at his own rough, worker's hands, he felt a sudden wave of self-loathing. He stammered, trying to find the words, before finally managing, "Thank you. I really appreciate it." Beyond that, he didn't know what else to say. It was nearly 2 a.m. when he asked if she had eaten. Mia shook her head. For years, she had been sneaking into care for his mother, living in the shadows. Mike took her to a 24-hour diner nearby and ordered her a bowl of noodles. He suddenly remembered she hated noodles and thought about ordering something else for her, keeping the bowl for himself. But Mia didn't say a word. She just picked up her chopsticks and started eating. Since leaving the novel, she had lost her glamorous background, her status as a scientist, and had no family here. Yet, she had persisted. Mike looked down as he watched her wolf down the food. He had never seen her like this. He had always thought of her as proud and untouchable. They finished the meal in silence. Mike suggested a walk, and they ended up by the river again, the water shimmering beautifully under the city lights. Mike sat on a bench, lost in thought. Mia spoke first, just as he had done with her all those years ago. "Do you think I look pathetic now?" "Ordinary," she asked. "But I feel so happy." "Mike, I'm here to atone for my sins." Mike listened in silence, offering no response or reaction, like a stranger passing by. The weight of reality was so heavy that he had almost forgotten the galas they used to hold in the Grand Villa. He suddenly asked about Chloe. In that other world, she was the only one he could really talk to. Mia smiled suddenly. "She liked you, you know. Did you never realize that?" "I didn't realize it either. She's probably married by now." Mike then asked if she could ever go back. Mia paused, then smiled bitterly. "How could I go back? I'm already dead in that world." Silence fell between them again. Mia stood up to leave, mentioning she had prepared a huge gift for him and hoped he would like it. Mike didn't understand, but he nodded anyway. Mia took a step away, looking at his face half hidden in the shadows, and whispered, "I have never regretted loving you, and I have never regretted marrying you." As Mike watched her walk away, he realized she was like a fleeting meteor, something he could neither touch nor hold. When he returned to the hospital, he finally understood what she meant. The doctor handed him a report. They had finally found a kidney donor for his mother. The donor was anonymous, so he didn't know who it was. But from that day on, he never saw Mia again. Not even once. Life is full of regrets. Mike's regret was that he hadn't pulled himself together sooner, letting his decadence cause his mother so much pain. But as he thought of the women he had met, he sincerely wished them all happiness. Many people came to Mike's wedding. Roxy attended with a 3-year-old in her arms and gave him a generous gift. Sarah flew back from abroad and immediately hit it off with his bride, Lily. He watched them shop for wedding dresses and whispered jokes about him. But among all these people, Mia was missing. He had tried to find her over the years, but she had vanished without a trace. He refused to think the worst, preferring to believe she had returned to the novel to be the proud, untouchable Mia once again. Mike, do I look pretty? His bride, Lily, spun around in her dress. It reminded him of the time Mia had asked him the same question. Beautiful. You look beautiful. Mike smiled and pulled her into his arms. On the wedding day, friends from both sides gathered for a lively reception. It was a simple backyard affair, but grand in its own way. His father told him that his mother was recovering well and would be walking soon. Mike felt truly happy. He and Lily gave his father a heartfelt hug to pay their respects. At the reception, someone poured him a glass of wine. This is the good stuff, costs thousands a bottle, the guest said. But Mike laughed as he drank it. Nothing here tasted as good as the wine from that other world. His boss was there too. Mike had been promoted to headquarters recently, working as a land surveyor. The job was easy and the pay was excellent. Drunk amidst the laughter of the crowd, Mike smiled dazedly. Lily, you go ahead. I'm going to rest here for a bit. Lily pouted, teasing him for being a lightweight. He didn't deny it, just sitting there quietly. In his half-sleep, he felt someone approach him and whisper, "Happy wedding day. I have to go now." After speaking, she kissed him on the forehead. Mike woke with a start to find a blanket draped over him. He assumed Lily had done it, but when he asked her later, she shook her head in confusion. It wasn't me. Someone else must have done it. Realizing the truth, Mike frantically searched the wedding venue, looking for that thin, familiar figure. But he found nothing. She had vanished into thin air. When he told Lily about it later, she laughed at him. "You must have dreamed of a ghost. Stop talking nonsense. I don't believe you. It was just a dream." Mike neither denied nor confirmed it. There was no point dwelling on it. Only he knew the truth, clutching the final wedding gift Mia had left him, the rose gold ring he had once given her. They both knew there was no chance for them anymore, and they both knew that life would go on.